Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us on Winsight Live. Before I kick it over to Phil Lempert, who's doing double duty this week as the host of the RDBA virtual experience, that's retail dietitians from all over the world. A couple of headlines that we've got up freshly on Winsight Grocery Business this morning. Kroger's Mid-Atlantic division is relocating its headquarters from its longtime home in Roanoke, Virginia, across the state to Richmond. That's a move that follows the population growth, the store growth, and the increasing importance of that market to Kroger. Also, Albertsons has made another high-profile executive poach, this one from Amazon. Omar Gajil is joining the company as its SVP of Pharmacy and Health, Bill.
Interesting. I had not heard that. And in fact, we've got a lot of our Kroger dietitians at the RDBA virtual experience. As soon as I get off this, I'm going to go there and I'm going to see what they know about them. Do you know, is this new Kroger in Richmond going to be avocado based? Have we heard anything about that?
Well, they are building one of those facilities in Maryland. It might
Right.
not be able to serve Richmond. I think what this reflects is just putting, they've got 21 regional divisions that make up Kroger. And, this reflects their growth in Richmond, which they got into for the first time with the acquisition of some Hannaford stores way back in 2000. And they've since grown to about 18 stores there. And, Richmond's one of those markets. We've talked a lot about them. North Carolina, Northern Jersey, Long Island, are just a surge of new competition between the Walmarts, the discounters, and some of the established guys getting bigger. And, where a company like Ukrops, had dropped out some time ago. And, that's 20 years now, but, or 10 years since Ukrops gave up the flag. And there's so much disruption in that market.
Yeah.
But population's growing, income's growing, retailers follow rooftops. So that's what that's about.
Yeah, to this day, I still don't understand. I know it's financial, but how Ukrops, who owned that market, who did a fabulous job, how they lost it. I mean, they owned the bank, they owned the real estate, they owned so much, and for that family, to lose that banner is really, really a sad state of affairs.
I'll say one thing on that, Phil, before we go on. Ukrops is still around as a food brand.
Right.
Their rolls are famous regionally, and they're still in grocery stores there. And latest of them, they're opening a food hall to highlight some of those foods, fried chicken.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
That's great.
Yeah,
that's great. Yeah, I would love to see them come back. So, you mentioned the RDBA virtual experience. What we're really focused on for the RDs is what to do during the pandemic, what to do after the pandemic. And it's really three sections: eating at home, online grocery shopping, and staying healthy and well. And which is the reason I'm a little hoarse today, just got done with our 2021 trend forecast, which we did. One of the other discussions that I heard last night that I've in our chat room been talking to people about is Washington, D.C., my favorite subject, and how the FDA and the CDC is screwing up. I don't get it. Here's the guy, again, that should be running everything. And if you've seen, the headlines that the CDC has now reversed itself on the coronavirus, that it's not an airborne, thing. I mean, I just don't get it. At what point are we actually going to go back to believing science? And at what point, and I know nobody can answer this, at one point, do politics stop playing a role in this pandemic where we now have over 200,000 people have died? So forget masks. We know that nobody in Washington wants us to wear masks or social distance. Now they're saying that it isn't even carried airborne. So nobody comment, but because you'll get in trouble. I won't get in trouble. But Jen, let's talk about something fun. Amazon Fresh.
Yes, it sounds super fun. I can't wait to go, and I can't wait for you to go and tell us what you think. But we sent an LA based writer to check things out on opening day, and he went into it admittedly skeptical. He's like a lot of people, loyal to certain stores for certain things. You know, he really likes the frozen foods at Trader Joe's. He really likes the seafood at Whole Foods and so on. And then he'll buy, you know, kind of toilet paper and that kind of stuff at like Target or Walmart or something. So he was like, you know, I don't know that I really am going to be adding another grocery store to my rotation. So kind of went into it with that attitude and left like, wow, like this is a very cool store with a lot to offer. You know, some of the highlights, you know, the technology piece, it sounds super cool. The dash cart where you can download your shopping list. It's on the screen on the dash cart. There's a quick tutorial that, you know, has you on your way, you know, if you're a first time user of this, and then it tells you, you know, everything on your list and then where it is in the store. So it just makes for a really efficient shopping experience. You know, competitive pricing, that's all over the store. Our secret shopper got a box of, you know, jumbo shell pasta for like $1.19. There's these really nice looking French baguettes for 89 cents. We talked about the bananas before for 15 cents. 15. But it's not just, you know, the value price things. I mean, you know, they do a really nice job, it sounds like, on prepared foods and, you know, tons of grab and go. And then also, you know, hot prepared foods that look fresh and interesting. They've got a meat and seafood counter that, while curated, I think that this is what they're doing in a lot of the departments, the wine department, wine and beer department, the meat and seafood area. It's curated, it's condensed, but they've made some really nice selections, and it all looks really, really fresh. And apparently the produce, you know, is also equally fresh. And then they've got some cool things for, you know, I guess, you know, our shopper said it had a very kind of European feel to the market in a really good way. And there were some interesting, you know, international items, but then also they're doing this Taste of America, where they've got these really interesting products from around the country that are kind of known, you know, whether it's Boston clam chowder or something, you know, they're from, you know, known in their cities and states, and they're, you know, curating that collection and bringing it to shoppers.
So I'll be there Friday, so I'll report next Tuesday. Take a guess. How many Amazon Fresh stores do you think, you know, we'll see over the next 5 years across the country?
A lot.
Couple hundred. That's
a couple hundred. I think it'll be in the thousands.
Well, if they make an acquisition, that's possible.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of real estate available now. So
yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, it's a great point, Jen. Talking about technology, Pat, what's going on with technology with restaurants? I mean, we've seen the flipper. I forgot what it's called, but you know, the robot that's in the back room to flip hamburgers. One of the things that I talked about in our forecast is how, you know, restaurants have been decimated. NRA has said 100,000 restaurants permanently closed. But what I think we're really going to see is, besides the whole restaurant space changing, the restaurant kitchen changing and getting a lot more high tech.
Yeah, well, you know, previously, before the pandemic, most of the restaurant tech was kind of behind the scenes, focused on POS systems and inventory control and integrating with delivery. But the pandemic has really accelerated the customer-facing technology. I mean, as well as the technology that's going on in the kitchen. You know, people now want to order ahead and order at the table if they're going to a restaurant. And so our sister company, Technomic, did a recent survey of consumers, and they found that 46% of consumers want restaurants to provide mobile or tabletop ordering capabilities, and 43% prefer that method now. So that's up like about 14% since 2019, just a year ago. And one of the writers of the report, he said that the biggest pain point, which was news to me, is that people don't want for their server, they don't want to wait for their server to come over and deliver the check. They want to be able to pay right away. And just waiting for the server is a big pain point.
Wow. Yeah, I'm
So-
surprised. I'm surprised to hear that too. One of the things that I've noticed here in Southern California in Santa Monica that annoys me is they don't have menus unless you ask. They give you a little card with a QR code,
Mhm.
and what you're supposed to do is use your QR reader in your iPhone to look at the menu. So I've got a big iPhone, whatever number this is. I guess it's the 10 Max or whatever else it is. When I do the QR code, I can't read it. You know, I've got to pinch it to make it bigger, and then I can't see what's here and what's here. I think that's the stupidest idea ever. Now, going back, I want to say 10 years, we have a hotel here called Casa del Mar, right on the beach. And what they did in their wine bar is they had iPads, the large iPads that had the wine list on it, that you could actually order the wine right from the iPad. That I like, that I can see, but I can't see this.
Well, I think it's a lot more sanitary for everybody to use their own iPhone rather than touching an iPad that everyone else touched. But I think, you're in the minority, Phil, because most consumers really like QR codes and they don't want to download a lot of apps on their phone, an app for each restaurant, for example, or even, for a restaurant group. And so that's another big pain point, overloading your phone with apps. So the QR codes are a really easy way to get entry into technology and get your menu. I mean, I'm kind of offended when I'm handed a menu now because
Really?
I find it as sanitary during the pandemic. I mean,
Yeah.
I revert back when when this is over.
Yeah. So once again, you're telling me I am a loner individual. Nobody agrees with me on anything. So
Dinosaur.
yeah, what can I tell you? So Kat, help me out here. Bring me back to the world of independence, because I know the independents like me.
Well, yeah. So with the independents, about a year ago, I think it was about a year ago, Snap Online was launched, and there were 2 independent grocers who participated in the pilot, and then it has now gone more nationwide. I think it's in 47 out of the 50 states. I can't remember exactly now, but they're running into an issue where obviously Walmart and Amazon are scooping up most of those Snap Online dollars. And I was speaking with Nick Nakatis, the CEO of Rosie, and he was saying anywhere from between 5 to 60% of an independent grocer's sales are from Snap.
Yep.
So they really do need to get, up to speed on being able to accept this in order to get those sales. So National Grocers Association, NGA, held a virtual meeting with the USDA's Food and Nutrition Service, along with retailers and service providers, in order to kind of help walk them through this process. It's a long, grueling process. It can take up to 3 months in order to get the approval. But they really want to get, the independent grocers moving towards this track, because it's something that they will need to do in order to continue to grab those SNAP dollars.
So, curious to get your take, Kat. Hy-Vee, we've seen over the past few years failed experiments, and I love Hy-Vee and I love Randy Edeker and everybody there, but failed experiments, not with food, but with clothing. We've seen that a couple times. They build these departments, they try to make them hip, they try to have brands. They had this relationship, I forgot the name, with a clothing retailer out of Canada who's been very successful in Loblaws.
Joe Fresh, I think it was Joe Fresh.
Yep, Joe Fresh. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're getting into the shoe business.
Yes.
DSW. What's up with that? And do you think it's actually going to work?
Well, they announced it in April or March that they were doing this partnership with DSW, and they are now opening their first shops within a shop, is what they're calling them, up in the Minneapolis St. Paul, the Twin Cities region. And I'm going to steal John's line. He should have written the lead of the story, and it's to increase more foot traffic. He's wittier than I am, but
he's wittier than all of us are.
so they have, I think it's 6 stores that they are planning to open within the next 2 weeks, and then more will open up in the next couple of years. And it's a way for customers to come in. They can pick shoes off of a virtual wall. The top 100 shoes on dsw.com will be up on a virtual wall, so they can select those. They can pick up their orders from dsw.com in the store.
But you can't try them on, right?
I think you can try them on. They do have a select few in the store, so there are going to be some shoes there.
Because here in California, you can't try on clothing or shoes or anything else.
It depends by the retailer. In Illinois, I know certain retailers let you and other ones don't. So it really kind of depends. And I don't know how it is in Minnesota, which is where they're starting these. Whether or not it will work, I don't know. They're going into markets that already have DSW, so it's not introducing this brand to new people. That might be a benefit, that it already has name recognition, but I think it also is kind of missing the boat in, at least for DSW, they could expand into those smaller markets where they couldn't support a full-size store.
How many of you go to DSW for shoes?
I do.
I'm a premier member.
Oh, okay.
Sadly.
I've gotten some shoes from there.
Yeah. So the only thing that I get from DSW, and this probably says more about me than anybody cares about, are Doc Martens. They've got the best selection of Doc Martens of anybody, but that's the only shoes that I buy there, Doc Martens.
No. I buy a lot of my shoes there.
Yeah.
Okay, what the shoes you're wearing now? What about the shoes you're wearing now?
I'm not wearing shoes now. I've got socks on, but no shoes.
Okay, then I'm not going to ask you to hold up your shoe. So Kat, before I let you go, Lunds and Byerlys, I happen to love Trey Lund. I think he's one of the best retailers out there. Over the years, he's had his hands full with his relatives, but their stores are great, and I love what they're doing. Tell us what they're doing.
Yeah, so this pandemic has really kind of pushed our grocery workers to the edges. I don't want to say to the brink, because I think they're all holding up pretty well, and retailers have struggled with ways to kind of thank them for that. We've seen Hero Pay. Lunds and Byerlys does have Hero Pay for their workers, but as an additional thank you, they're expanding their Thanksgiving time off. So they always have given their workers Thanksgiving a paid holiday, given them time off, and it's now expanding to Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. So now they're getting a full 2 days, and this is across company. It's the grocery stores, it's the production facilities, it's the distribution centers. So it's the whole company is getting this time off. And it's just really as a thank you to the workers who have been, stressed so much during this pandemic, that they're getting that extra time to spend with their families, or maybe even go Black Friday shopping if anything is.
It's open. I don't think anything's going to be open. But classy company, classy guy. Good for them. I hope more retailers, more grocery retailers and other retailers do the same thing. Jen, we've talked a lot about Trader Joe's. I think it was actually last week. We talked about, Trader Joe's not really pushing for online shopping, not for pickup. I guess the question that you pose is Trader Joe's proving that they could care less and don't need digital as the rest of the world is going digital?
Yeah, there have been a couple of new surveys that kind of support maybe, Trader Joe's is on the right track for them, that not having this online presence may work for them. And one of those is Placer AI. They track foot traffic data, and they found that in April, and that was the month that Trader Joe's discussed that they weren't interested in going online on their podcast. their foot traffic tanked. It was like 44. It was down 44.4% over April, 2019. And then
Well, but that's because of store closures and minimizing and things like that, right?
I think it's because Trader Joe's has small footprint stores between 8 and 15,000 square feet. And so still to this day, I've said this before, I don't really go to Trader Joe's anymore because the line is always wrapped around the block still in September, because they have to limit the number of people in the store. So I think just, people were either avoiding it altogether or, they had to wait in line and just fewer people were coming to the stores. But in August, they're up 1% over August 2019 in terms of foot traffic. So it appears that, shoppers are returning. And then a new survey from Mercatus with research and insights from Incisive says that while, this online grocery shopping is expected to grow, substantially. So they're saying it's going to be 21.5% of total grocery sales by 2025. That's an estimated 250 billion, which is more than a 60% increase of pre-pandemic expectations of what the online grocery market would be. But in that same survey, they also said that grocery shoppers are not loyal to online grocery stores the way they are to brick and mortar.
Yeah, so I read that exact thing. In fact, talked about it in our trends this morning, that I think the number, correct me if I'm wrong, was like 26% of people are shopping at other stores. So the point of it is, if you as a retailer don't have what I want in store, and I've shopped at you forever, and you don't have what I want online, I'm going elsewhere. So I found that that finding very interesting as well. I agree, but the good news is that I think that the last stat was that 78% of people said they would prefer to go in store or click and collect, curbside pickup. Mm-hmm. So that there is, that opportunity. And I like Mercatus a lot, and I like their research a lot. But in that report that just published yesterday, there's a lot of information that our viewers and our retailers really need to be paying attention to.
Yeah, stay tuned on that, by the way, Phil. I'm at work on a separate piece that's sort of related to that, that we're going to debut soon. But, the point being is the experience is still not there with e-commerce, and the retailers to get it right are going to be the big winners there. Anyway, stay tuned on that.
Yeah, I agree. But, Jen, to your point, I was shocked to see, that many people leaving their regular store and not being loyal to their store. So stores are going to have a challenge in getting them back. And same thing at convenience stores. Brett, 7-Eleven, is on this acquisition mode, not only of other retailers, but also now of employees.
Yeah, definitely, Phil. So back in March, when the pandemic hit, retailers were looking for initiatives, things to do. The economy took a hit. 7-Eleven released this hiring initiative that they were going to hire 20,000 employees. Since then, it's been bigger than they've even imagined. And since then, they've hired about 50,000. And wow. The other day now, 7-Eleven said they are starting a new initiative to bring on 20,000 more employees this year. So this is big news. I mean, we spoke about this, I believe last week, just how difficult across all the segments we cover now, how difficult hiring really is and retaining employees. So this is really great to hear from 7-Eleven, and hopefully other retailers can start to hire at this rate as well.
So when 7-Eleven did these acquisitions, did they keep the other people so that these new jobs are replacing old jobs, or are these just entirely new jobs?
Sure. So that's a great question, and I'm not 100% positive. I do know that 7-Eleven has boosted a lot of their capabilities during the pandemic. So they've really enhanced their frictionless mobile checkout, their curbside pickup, their delivery. So I know that a lot of these new employees are actually going to are coming on to assist with those
New
capabilities.
jobs. Yeah.
Also with helping purchase, they've become a place for customers to do their grocery shopping too, right? As we've talked about. So I know these guys are helping on that side as well. 7-Eleven has also done a mask initiative. They're providing PPE. So they have a lot more roles here since the pandemic has come on. So, I'm sure employees left. I mean, this is, it's been an issue this whole time for these 6 or so months.
Well, I think we're also starting to see the new 7-Eleven. I mean, when I think of 7-Eleven, in my image is the 20-year-old 7-Eleven that's dirty and I don't want to go into, but with everything that they're doing, it really is a new 7-Eleven. John, we haven't talked about a particular retailer in a very long time. Anything new going on in Fresh Direct?
Yeah, quite a bit. And I urge you guys to take a look at the story, which went up this morning on Winside Grocery Business. Did an interview with Scott Crawford, their chief merchandising officer, former Whole Foods guy. He kind of led me through the thing. If you recall with Fresh Direct, they opened a gigantic new facility in the Bronx that kind of stumbled out of the gate. It may or may not have led to their CEO's departure. There was, and really kind of stumbled, with this opportunity to have this great technologically advanced thing that was going to, help them out because they were at max capacity at their other facility. Well, COVID comes along, gives them a second chance to kind of debut that. And Scott gave me a great interview. There's some terrific quotes in there about sort of how they kind of approached the pandemic using the technology and the greater capacity of that warehouse for the first time, really, not only to serve their existing customers, but to seed some further expansion out into the suburbs, Long Island, Jersey, Philly, Washington, which they're doing with the help of Micro Fulfillment Center, the first U.S. one from Fabric. So actually a lot going on, without sharing specific numbers other than, a couple bit. He said, comps were doubling. They doubled again at COVID. And they shared one statistic, 46% comp the first week of September, which, influenced by, all those things I just mentioned, geographic expansion, larger baskets. Fresh Direct's an interesting company. They sell a little bit of a different mix than most of the supermarkets that they're taking business from. And, Scott's point was, if people were kind of forced into trying e-commerce for the first time, Fresh Direct kind of be available to them because they're virtual. They don't have to build a store. They come out and devote some trucks there. They can suddenly serve this market. And then people are getting hooked on the experience, fresher food, more direct, a big as they say, over index in fresh.
And they do it well. I mean, and quality wise, especially on their prepared foods and on their produce, they really take a lot of care. I've not been in the new facility. I have been in the old facility. And one of the most expensive things that they did and they were committed to is every banana gets wrapped in this foam sleeve. And the reason for that is their entire place is refrigerated. And they were very concerned that the bananas would get too cold and not be as fresh as they needed to be. Their big problem was, they didn't have enough loading docks in the old facility. They had to load their trucks between 1 and 3 o'clock in the morning to get through the Queens Midtown Tunnel before traffic, then park on the streets in New York, and then have this army of people working out of the truck. I mean, that's still an issue for them. And I'm surprised that they didn't build smaller micro fulfillment centers and even putting one in Manhattan someplace so that they didn't have to deal with that.
They've done a couple of those kind of small dark store type things to support this kick.
Oh, good. Okay.
Called Food Kick, which is now called Fresh Direct Express.
Yep.
But yeah, the new facility, 43 different temperature zones, and they can move. So if there's a run on chicken, we'll make more 43, whatever degree it is to keep chicken fresh. A really kind of forward-thinking thing that really never got optimized until COVID came along and e-commerce exploded.
Yeah, that's great. Jen, some good news.
Yes, so we've been talking about a lot of retailers are doing things to fight hunger this month because September's hunger action month. And so I thought this was a fun one. The Fresh Market is partnering with Feltman's Coney Island hot dogs this weekend. And they're doing a Hot Dogs for Hunger campaign. And they're going to sell ready-to-eat hot dogs for $2 with all proceeds going to Feeding America and their member
Very cool.
banks. So
very cool. I don't eat hot dogs very often. I would say I probably eat them twice a year, but I love hot dogs. I do, especially, as a kid, Coney Island, going to Nathan's, great hot dog. Absolutely great hot dog. Okay. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. We will be back here 9:30 a.m. Pacific and 12:30 p.m. Eastern on Thursday. Got to remember what day it is. On Thursday, again, past archives available at supermarketguru.com, Winsight Grocery Business, Restaurant Business, CSP. Hope you'll join us. And it'll be a little less hectic next Tuesday because it'll be our last day on the RDBA virtual experience, and I can relax a little bit. So until then, be safe, wear a mask, and we'll see you on Thursday.